Mean Girls is a movie that was released in 2004. This movie looks at the life of a junior in high school named Katie Heron, who was previously homeschooled. She learns about all of the in-depth social hierarchical systems of high school, and specifically, she learns to exploit these relationships among her peers. There was a study released in 2015 titled Structure Matters: The Role of Clique Hierarchy in the Relationship Between Adolescent Social Status and Aggression and Prosociality. I believe this study directly correlates to the movie Mean Girls, and I will use it to answer the question, in what ways do Regina's aggressive and prosocial behaviors help or not help her maintain her social status? And I know what you're thinking.
That was so fetch.
Jokes aside, let's first get into the study. The study was aimed at how young groups of people form cliques, as well as how their hierarchical systems work. The study specifically looked at this through a couple different lenses, such as peer status, popularity, aggression, social pyramids, and finally, prosociality. Since I just threw a whole bunch of topics at you, I'm going to quickly explain them while showing an example from the movie. Peer status can be described as an individual standing with a group.
But I can't help it that I'm popular.
Specifically, how somebody's peers view them in a social sense. A clique is a smaller group that shares their interests.
And it seemed like every clique had its own problems.
Typically, these groups hang out a lot and don't really allow new people to join. Popularity, referring to how liked one may be by a large group. Aggression, being anger or violence thrown towards another person.
Car, step away from the underage girls.
Social pyramids are ways of looking at social standings of people in a group. What level they are on could refer to how popular they are or can be compared to who is higher up on the food chain. Prosociality is a way to describe how another person can do something nice for another. Another way to describe it is someone's actions are meant to benefit somebody else. To circle back to the big question, in what ways do Regina's aggressive and prosocial behaviors help or not help her maintain her social status? Let's split the question up into a couple different parts. Our first part is how has Regina been aggressive and prosocial in helping her maintain her social status? In this scene, Regina calls this girl's mother and pretends to be a caller from Planned Parenthood. So the girl ends up getting in trouble and the guy that is talking to her starts talking to Gretchen again. This is a ruthless yet effective action that benefited her friend. Regina shows that she will do things for her friends which keep her popular, but at the same time it can be seen as a warning to not get on her bad side.
Oh, this is Susan from Planned Parenthood. I have her test results. If you could have her give me a call as soon as she can. It's urgent. Thank you. She's not going out with anyone.
I hope that nobody else ever does see it.
Now, in this scene, we see arguably one of the most popular scenes in Mean Girls. We see Regina in an attempt to gain back control over the situation after almost losing her cool.
Mother!
Throwing papers around and putting them up from the burn book to make the school a chaotic mess to have her rise back to the top. This last-ditch effort shows how calculated and resourceful Regina could be when she is cornered and has seemingly nowhere to run. However, nobody in positions of power lasts forever. Regina's aggressiveness and prosociability were used in an attempt to help her maintain her social status, yet it did not help and ultimately blew back in her face. An example of this is Regina kissing Aaron. From that point on, we see Katie go into attack mode and want to, well, at first deal like she would in the animal world, but we all see how Regina is a clear dictator and what needs to be done to ruin her. An example of Regina attempting to maintain and control her clique backfired when Gretchen hit us with her famous line,
Love him, and he totally complimented you. That is so fetch.
to which Regina responds with,
Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
This tipped Gretchen over the edge when we see her lash out and lose her cool in English when reading her view on the tragedy of Julius Caesar.
What's so great about Caesar? Brutus is just as cute as Caesar. Okay, Brutus is just as smart as Caesar. People totally like Brutus just as much as they like Caesar. And when did it become okay for one person to be the boss of everybody, huh? Because that's not what Rome is about. We should totally just stab Caesar!
To which Gretchen starts to give into Katie's comfort as a friend, quote unquote. Regina ultimately made her successor. We see Katie take on the title of Queen Bee. Now, Katie was not just an innocent person in the situation. In fact, so adding the script for my human discussion for the YouTube video that I made for it, I just realized that Mean Girls is a modern version of Julius Caesar by Shakespeare. Because Regina George is Caesar, right? And then Caesar has his whole group that surrounds him, but inevitably stabs him in the back. And then Brutus and what's his name? Cassius, right? End up falling out, which is very similar to Janice and Katie. Brutus ends up killing himself, which is equivalent to the social suicide that Katie commits by rejoining the mathletes and kind of going full into that. A fun little thing I just thought of. We see Katie use a similar tactic on Regina through a phone attack with Gretchen on the other line. Gretchen also reaches out to Karen and spills the information that Regina was saying about her. This shows that Katie has learned from Regina's tactics. She is making it so Gretchen and Karen believe her to be on her side so that they will ultimately betray Regina in the end. And it works.
I go out. I'm sick.
Boo, you whore.
You can't sit with us!
Much like Regina, Katie did have her time when she fell from the top. Regina takes Katie down by putting her own name in the burn book. Ultimately, there are 3 names that are not in the book when Regina gives the book to Principal Duval: Gretchen, Karen, and Katie. In the end, both of these girls, well, dictators, had their fall. Whether it be Regina with losing her friends and getting hit by a bus, or Katie getting outed to the whole school. They both had their time in power, and it all came crumbling down. Mean Girls is a great example of the social hierarchies and intricate interpersonal relationships that go on in high school. These relationships are kind of our first big experiences with making friends, finding people we don't like, finding people we do like, and just showing how that conglomerate of information lasts or pans out in our future.